Alrighty guys, we're going to keep talking about pyramids, but we're going to talk about finding the volume of pyramids. And we're going to do that on 123. So, if we actually jump to 121 for just a second, I want to remind you right here, when we're talking about pyramids, we have that shape that has one base and then triangles all around. So finding the volume actually of pyramids, I mean, it's kind of like finding the volume of a prism, where I do think about finding the area of that bottom shape and then stacking little slivers all on top of it. But as you keep going, like the triangles that you're stacking get smaller, smaller, smaller. So you're not getting that full volume like you did with a prism. Although the volume formula does sort of use that to find the volume of a pyramid, you do base times height. So we're back to using like a true height, not a slanted height. But you don't get all of it. You actually only get a third of it. I almost think of like a slice being cut out on either side. So like you're losing 2/3 of that full volume and you're only keeping the third that was like in the middle, if that kind of makes sense. So now if we jump to page 123 here, let's actually talk about finding the volume of pyramids and cones. Now the thing is, a pyramid and a cone is kind of the same thing. We're just, specifying a base. When it's a cone, it's a circular base. So our formula here, we have volume equals 1/3 area of the base times the true height. So when we're talking true height, we're talking about a perpendicular one, not a slanty one. And the same thing is true here. Like when you have this 1/3, we still have this 1/3 here, and then the pi r squared is still the area of your base. It's just a specific base, a circular one. And then h is still height, which is still the perpendicular height. Okay, so trying these front ones here, if we look at this first one, if I think about the base shape, we have a square. And so the way that we find the area of that is we do side squared, which is 3 times 3 or 3 squared for 9. And then we want to multiply that by the height and the true height, not the slanted one. So I'm looking for that perpendicular height, which luckily they are showing me is 5. And so then when we plug these numbers in, we have 1/3 the area of the base times the height, which is 5. And so now when we're doing a third, that's really just like dividing by 3. So if you can divide 3 on something, that's great. So a third of 9 is 3 times 5 is 15. And because we're back to volume now, that is units cubed. So 15 units cubed for the volume. Then when we're talking about a cone, same idea. A cone is a pyramid. It just has a circular base. And so the way that I find the area of that is I do pi r squared, where in this case they're showing me that the radius is 3. So 9 pi. And then the height of the pyramid has to kind of go from bottom to tippy top of pyramid. Has to be the perpendicular one, even though they didn't really show you the 90, it is there. So that height is 5. And so then when I plug it into my formula, 1/3 area of the base times height, we get 1/3 times the area of the base, which was 9 pi, times the height, which was 5. Again, we're just multiplying, so you can take a third of whatever you want. Hopefully you will be able to take a third. And so we get 3 pi times 5, so 15 pi units cubed for the exact volume. So let's just try a whole bunch more. If you open it up, looking at this top one here, the base shape of this pyramid is actually a rectangle, which is okay. But I know that it's a rectangle and not a square because I can see that the two sides are different. So when I think about filling in my volume formula, which is 1/3 area of the base times height, the area of the base, when my base shape is a rectangle, is going to be base times height. And then the height of the pyramid, we're going to have to think about. So let's just do one thing at a time. So let's say we do 1/3 times the area of the base shape, which is the rectangle. So 8 times 10. Now, when I go back to think about the height of the pyramid has to be the true height. So this perpendicular height right here, which they did not show me a measure of. They also did not show me the slanted height, but they are showing me this 30, 60, 90 triangle in here. Now, unfortunately, it seems like I don't know any of those side lengths, but I kind of do know this one here because it's kind of like an apothem. It's kind of half of the way from here to here on the rectangle, which from there to there is 10. And so really, this is 5. And so on my 30, 60, 90, the side that I have is the short side. And so then the long leg would be 5√3. And the hypotenuse would be 10. Although the one that I want is at true height, so the 5√3 one. And so if we plug that into our formula here, if I think about multiplying all of this, like I always try to take 1/3 if I can, but I can't take 1/3 of any of those numbers. So what's going to happen is like when I multiply, this is still going to be all over 3 because I was never able to divide the 3 out. I'm also going to have that √3 just chilling at the end because like I want an exact answer if I can get one. And so when I multiply here, I'll have 80 times 5, or I guess 40 times 10, so 400 over 3 √3 units cubed. Now, I guess if we want to talk about approximate here, if I had my phone, honestly, oh, there it is. We might want to talk about approximate here because there's kind of a lot of stuff to do. I need to really take that 400 and divide it by the 3. And I need to also multiply it by the √3. Maybe I wanted to do that first. Let's take the square root of 3. And then multiply it by the 400 and then divide it by 3. And so the approximate answer is 230.94 units cubed. Just to practice approximate, because you just need to do all the things. Like I need to square root the 3, divide by 3, and multiply 400. What order you do those in doesn't really matter because it's all multiplication and division at this point. All right, jumping over here, let's try another. If I want to find the volume, we're going to do 1/3 area of the base times the height. Your base shape is a circle. I don't know why I got a southern accent there for a second. So since it's a circle, we're going to plug in our circle formula, which is pi r squared, which they're showing me the diameter is 18. So really my radius is 9. So we'll have 9 squared pi. And so that's the area of base. The other thing I have to find is the true height of the pyramid, which goes from the center straight up at a 90, which they have not shown me. What they did show me was that the slanted height was 15, and I do know that the radius is 9. And so what I have is a right triangle where I know 2 sides and I can find the third. So we're going to do 9 squared plus height squared equals 15 squared. This one might actually be a triple, but I'm not for sure. So 9 squared is 81. Height squared is what I want to know. Actually height, but you get what I mean. 225. I'm going to subtract that 81. for 144. Yes. Because when I square root that, that's just 12. So my height of my pyramid is 12. So I'll multiply by 12 here. Okay, so now we just need to simplify the things, and I need to do the exponent first. So we'll have 1/3 times 81 times pi times 12. And then I think about taking a third somewhere, and you actually can take a third of 81. And I know so because like I could take a third of 9, and so when I square it up, I'll still be able to take a third. And so 3 goes into 81. How many times? 27 times? Yeah. So 27 times 12. Oh my gosh, I'm getting loopy. Now I've had too much coffee. 27 times 12 is too big for my brain. 27 times 12. 324 with a pi at the end. Units cubed because we're volume. I don't want that approximate stuff. I mean, you could get it. Just multiply by pi, but we'll just leave it. On to the next. Looking at this next one here, if I want to find the volume, we're going to do 1/3 area of the base times the height. The base shape is this triangle here. And the reason I know I want to pick this triangle, like whenever I have a triangular pyramid, it's always tricky. But I feel like I want this as the base because I can see that they're showing me the height right there. And if they are showing me a height, I want to use that height. So because it's going from this bottom to that point, I need to use this as the bottom base. So we'll do 1/3 area of the base. Now the base shape is a triangle. So the way I find the area of that is I do half base times height. Then times the height of the pyramid, which I can see that they're showing me is 6. So I'm going to just plug that in right now because that's easy. It's 6. So going back to find the area of the base, because the base shape is this triangle here, we want to do that half base times height, which the base and height of a triangle have to be the ones that make up the 90. So the 3 and the 4. And now that I've plugged everything in and it's all multiply, I can kind of do this in any order I choose. So I'm actually taking a third, and I'm also actually taking a half. So, oh my gosh, I could do this a lot of fun ways. Like I could take a third of 3, that's just 1, and half of 4, that's 2. Or I know I'm taking a third and a half, but I'm also taking a sixth. So I could just take a sixth of 6 and it's gone. And so it's just 12 for the volume. Units cubed. Oh my God, I love that. I hope you see why I did that. Like the 3 and the 2 is 6, and that's a 6. So bye. Let's try another. All right, looking at this one here, if I wanted to find the volume, I'm going to do 1/3 area of the base times the height. My base is a circle, so when I find the area of that, I'm going to do the pi r squared. So I've already replaced that for you. So we have our 1/3 times pi times r squared, which they did not show me, times height, which they actually have showed you. Because, so since this is a 45-degree angle right here, and this is a 45-degree angle right there, this one has to be a 90. So really the height of your pyramid is right here. It's not in the center. And that's because this is kind of a slant pyramid. It's like not straight up. It's like leaning. And so the true height I know right now, it's actually 6. So that's kind of fun. Which, noticing that 45, 45, 90 is actually really good too, because then I have a special right triangle where I know one leg is 6, and so the other leg is 6, and then like the hypotenuse is 6√2, but I don't need it. That would be like the slanted height. I don't need it. But I did need this 6 here because that is the diameter of the circle, making the radius 3. Okay, so really now I'm just multiplying, although I do have the exponent, so I do need to do that first. So we're going to have a third times 9 pi times 6. And I can kind of take a third of either, like 9 or 6. Either one's good. So I'll take a third of the bigger one. And so we have 18 pi units cubed. You'll love to see it. All right, working our way down. We have this Pentagonal Pyramid. And it is a pentagonal pyramid because the base is a pentagon. So when I want to find the volume of that, I'm going to do 1/3 the area of the base times the height. Because the base shape is a pentagon, the way I find the area of that is half apothem times perimeter. And then times the height of the pyramid, which actually they are showing me the height of the pyramid here is 7. So we can plug that in. Now when I go back and think through all this mess, we want to look at that pentagon and focus right on the pentagon. Like, do I have the apothem? And I do. It's 2. And then can I find the perimeter? I kind of need double parentheses here. And I can, because there are 5 sides and they're showing me that each side is 3. So 5 times 3. And then we're kind of just, like, at this point, we're multiplying all the things. So I can multiply in any order I want. It's super fun. So I'm going to take half of 2 because that will just go away. I'm also going to take 1/3 of 3 because that will just go away. And all I have now is 5 times 7 for 35 units cubed. Love it. Last but not least, we are going to find the volume of this cone. It is 1/3 area of the base times the height when the base shape is the circle. So we find the area of that by doing pi r squared. So if I look at my circle, I notice that I do not have the radius, but I do have the height of the pyramid. So that's nice. It's 8. We just got to go back and find that radius. So looking at this here, I notice this right triangle is a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And on my 30, 60, 90 right triangle, oof, I actually have the long leg, which is where the root 3 is supposed to be, and it sure ain't. So when I go backwards, I actually have to make this smaller, and it will have a root 3 on it, because if the root 3 isn't where it's supposed to be, it's going to be in the other 2 spots. And when I get smaller, I have to actually divide by 3, so 8 over 3 root 3. And then this one would double and it'd be 16 over 3 root 3. Not that we really need it. We just needed that radius, which is a big old yuck. 8 over 3 root 3. But we're going to square it, which is actually nice because we're going to really just square all the things. So we have our 1/3 and our pi. When I square all of this, we need to square all of it. So 8 squared is 64. 3 squared is 9. The square root of 3 squared is 3 times 8. And at this point, we just have all multiplication and division, so we can kind of do it all at the same time. And right off the top, I noticed that I can just get rid of these 3's, because 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. And then I just have, like, I don't think, 9 can't go into 64, right? No. I think I'm going to be left with a fraction here, because the 9 and 8 also don't divide at all. So I'm just going to do 64 times 8 for 512. On top, 9 on bottom, and pi at the side. But just in case we want an approximate answer to kind of practice that, I would do the 512 divided by 9 and then multiply that by pi for an approximate volume of 178.72 units cubed. Cute. All right, I will see you on our very last one.